Now this kind behavior they kill our country. You suppose do things differently, make Nigeria for better.
Corruption not in my country.
This message is brought to you by the Akinfade Foundation, the MacArthur Foundation,
and with broadcast support from Atlantic Television Network.
every day.
Corruption not in my country.
I don't get a lot. Boy, they won't booga me small. They say, man, give them bribe. I say, nothing. Okay, now, we'll go block later. You remember that contract we will do that time now? They don't pay.
But first, you see the house rent with the old things. We go first call caretaker, take the money, slap him.
Beg, see, you know, say I get annual levy why they pay for club. Where me and boys they shark beer now. How to say that one? You remember say me and tell you I go buy you motor. I go buy now.
Okay, ne. They pay you money now. We don't they beg caretaker? Why would they beg landlord, old man, and they agree give us time? Money can't come now. You won't divert time. You said na corruption. Corruption, not in my house and not in my country.
Sure.
Corruption not in my country.
This message is brought to you by the Akinfade Foundation, the MacArthur Foundation,
and with broadcast support from Atlantic Television Network.
Corruption not in my country.
Kasali, I hope my car don't ready. I get interview in 30 minutes.
Okay, you don't ready. I just the last minute instruction where you give me yesterday. Now in the cause more delay.
Which instruction?
Maybe now you say make I change the meter, make you no read again.
Which time did I make you change meter? Oh, Kasali, why you do like this now? You don't get sense. You don't read the text message. Nobody I want send them to. Like Kasali, my electrician, make you come house, call me, do my meter. So I not going to read again. You know electrician?
You're electrician.
Yes, now.
So you call Kasali electrician, make it come help you adjust your meter, make it for no read again, Abi. So you said you want join people where be say they no want they pay NEPA bill again, Abi. Oga, you know good now. You don't you don't behave like tea, all these stiff people.
Oh, what you change from your motor? What you change from?
Two lights. Fuel gauge. Speedometer.
For what you know, you for come out for home my motor. I better identify for me.
Okay. Now I don't do something we corrupt. And something come backfire. Now go find how to dodge them.
What you talk?
I greet you.
Corruption not in my
This
country.
message is brought to you by the Akinfade Foundation, the MacArthur Foundation,
And with broadcast support from Atlantic Television Network.
Corruption not in my country.
What do you want to buy?
Potato. Small basket. I want plantain. But why your plantain can't hard like this?
Madam, now the outside hard. Inside there, it is very soft.
Madam, wallahi make her no buy. Make her show you something. What?
Welcome back from that break. For just joining us is Sports Talk here on Atlantic Television Network. And of course, we start with all that played out over the weekend. And for those of you who missed out from the Okpekpe race, this is where to be right now, because we saw how beautifully Edward Zakayo Pingwa has revealed why he failed to break the 28 Okpekpe International Rules course. Sorry. The record was set last year by Daniel Simiyu Ebenyo, and the Kenyan who came into the 10th edition of the race as the favorite to not only win, but also attempt to break the record course after running 27.49 seconds in January in Ibiza, Spain, could only run 28.31 to claim the title. Pingwa revealed that he was not pushed hard enough by his opponent, especially the Ethiopian Gabrielasi, the only other athletes to have broken 28 minutes over the 10-kilometer road distance before the race commenced. He ran the first kilometer with an average pace of 03.04 seconds and ended the race with 29.31, 29 minutes 31 seconds ahead of his countryman Isaac Kimpembo, who ran 29.38 seconds, and Alex Olio Tip Kori, who ran 29.50 seconds. Pingwa has, however, vowed to come back next year to erase Benyo's name as the Okpekpe International 10-kilometer road course record holder. Meanwhile, Gladys Kwamboka, who ran 33.05 seconds to win the women's title, says the torturous nature of the Okpekpe road race made it impossible, for them to run faster than she did. The Kenya came to Okpekpe brandishing a brand new 31.54 lifetime best. She ran just last month and was tipped to move closer or break Caroline Kiprioki's 32.38 course record, but she failed to fulfill expectation despite running 15.36 at the halfway mark. Her compatriot Regina Wembu and Shelia Cheriotic came in seconds and third respectively. The top 5 finishers in the both categories got $15,000, $8,000, $5,000, $3,000 and $2,000 respectively. And these are some of the how the race panned out on the day, where a lot of anticipation, a lot of preparation for the Okpekpe International race. And of course, Zach Amodu was right that the 10th edition or the 10th anniversary of the Okpekpe race that started in 2013 will truly live up to expectation, and we saw the hype in Okpekpe in Edo State precisely. Before we delve into all that, let me welcome, one, of course, we have a lot, we hope that soon we'll get connected to Emmanuel Michael here in the studio, but then let's also inform you that a lot of preparation, for the what is to come, and of course, the Okpekpe International Road Race has lived up to expectation in recent time, and we cannot fail to also, bring you all the happenings. And from day one, there's this hype of breaking the records. But we had expected someone to break the record of getting at least, getting the African record course, as well as the new record set up by Nigerians, But then there was none to be said. So if you ask me, I think that the Okpekpe road race has truly, done its part in a bid to, elevate marathon or long distance races here in the country. Like I said earlier, we'll be joined by Emmanuel Michael. It's raining here in Port Harcourt, and of course, getting to see how far our Zoom guests also will try to see how far can join later soon. But Emmanuel Michael just joins us in the studio. Emmanuel, good morning and welcome to the show.
Yeah, good morning to you, Temple, and good morning to our viewers out there.
Yeah, we're actually talking about the Okpekpe race, and we saw all that played out over the weekend. The lot of hype around the breaking. I mean, this 10th edition was about breaking setting a new record in the race, as well as also erasing that of Benyo. But the race winners seems to have achieved, the least as expected, from them. But one would have thought that, okay, with the way they've gone about it, the hype around it, and the monetary involvement, the monetary motivation, maybe we'll get to see a winner emerge, but that was not to be seen for now.
Yeah, and reason was very simple. He listened to the winner out there, making the reason very known. She said that, he said that he wasn't actually pushed to the wall because he expected a lot of the competitors out there to up their game. But when they failed to up their game, you just expect the winner to be more like a roller coaster ride for him, because when you have more challenges out there, more competitors coming to give you a run for your money, I think it helps you to even further improve on your game. But according to him, he said that he wasn't actually pushed to the wall, so he felt very relaxed, and that is why he couldn't break up that record set by Benyo. But I tell you, it has been an impressive one, no doubt. Despite the financial incentive that came with that very one, that whosoever break the previous record is going to go home with a heavy amount of money. But then I think it wasn't good enough, because according to him, he wasn't actually given much competition in the system or on the races. That is why he was unable to break the record. But he promised to come back very strong come next season to see if he can be able to also break a record and possibly set a new one. But in all, I tell you, it has been an impressive ride so far from the Okpekpe race, the organizers and everybody. I think for me, we need to give them kudos for what they've been able to do so far. Having been able to sustain this is not just a one-off thing. This has also lasted the test of time for about 10 good years. Running, they are still maintaining the standard, and over 100 million naira was sunk into this very one. Over the weekend, we actually delved deep by going through the gamut to also balkanize some of these financial incentives that came with it in our sister station out there. But then I tell you, in all, I just think it's a great one. For the fact that they were unable to break the previous record doesn't take away the glamour, it doesn't take away the shine, the beauty of the Okpekpe race out there. So for me, I think just a step further to what we saw last season. But then I tell you, the standard has remained. In short, this is the only race that is recognized globally when you talk about the 10-kilometer race here in the continent of Africa. Recognized all over the world, not just in Africa, all over the world. And Nigeria here is a case study. So we are going places. If we can continue to maintain this standard of the Okpekpe race, I tell you, in a few years to come, possibly, the world, all hope will rest on Nigeria to keep doing the needful.
The world over should rest on Nigeria. That's the most important thing, taking Nigeria to the global scene and showcasing the beautiful terrain of Okpekpe in Edo State. That seems to be the core of the message we're trying to send, that, okay, just as we celebrate in Kenya, having those tarred roads and where marathons can be carried out, in Nigeria, we have the environment, to nurture, long-distance runners, and that's the beauty of what we're doing. What is the role? Of course, we saw the Nigerian. Let's go to the part where Nigerian side, the Nigerian male category, okay, finished with a time of 30.46 minutes ahead of Bala Musa and defending champion Ismail Sajo, who recorded 31.05 minutes and 31.15 minutes respectively. You know that time matters. So when someone runs 29, ordinarily, if you're not in athletics, you think that, okay, what is the difference between 31 minutes and 29 minutes that the person ran? And you'll be wondering. But even if it's a seconds, a split seconds, matters so much in anything race. And of course, and the Nigerians, they had more like 2-3 minutes, below the standard set by the Kenyans. No surprise why they did not get there on time, although they did so well. But when you have 31, some of them even got to 31, 32, whereas we had 29. So I think that Nigeria did not do. We are yet to get to the level of the Kenyans, but like the man said, no competition at all. Maybe, but how will you rate the effort of Team Nigeria, in their category?
For me, I think it's not a bad effort. It's not a bad try from the Team Nigeria out there. Looking at where we are coming from, this 10-kilometer long distance race is never, part of our game. We are never a force to be reckoned with when it has to do with long distance race. But of course, when you talk about the Kenyans, Ethiopian, these are areas of their comparative advantage. So for me, I think Nigeria being alien to that long distance race, we have not been able to make any strong statement or make a mark when it has to do with a long distance race out there. But then coming very close, just 3 minutes disparity between them and the first person. It is not a bad, a glimpse of hope that indeed if we continue in this trajectory, possibly, just in future time to come, we will begin to hear Nigeria's name in the international race when you talk about long distance race. But I tell you, it's not a bad one at all, because heading into this very one, nobody even thought that Nigeria was going to at least make any significant progress or improvement. But then we are beginning to see a little bit of changes, a little bit of progress when it has to do with the long distance race as Nigerians are concerned. So for me, I think it's just a matter of more work needed to be put in so that we can be able to also, make our mark in terms of long distance. So when you talk about the 100-meter race, 200-meter short distance race, of course, Nigeria is a force to be reckoned with, no doubt. But then, when it has to do with the long distance race, it's not our thing at all. But the good thing is that we are beginning to learn from it. We are improving. Possibly next season or next year, we can also continue to improve further. And before you know it, we can catch up with the likes of Ethiopian or Kenya. Though it's a very difficult task, but then it is not inachievable. We can still achieve it. We put everything in place and very much focus that we want to break that jinx. We can get there.
We can get there, and that's very important if you ask me. We can't really get there. It depends on what we have to offer. And away from that, now let's talk other interesting stories here this morning on Sports Talk. And we have the issue of martial arts. Officials of Nigeria Mixed Martial Arts Federation have pledged not to rest on their house after the game attained scoring status at the level of the National Sports Festival. So the question now is, what is the plans to ensure that they elevate the sport to the level of admiration as they have they're already planning to?
First, the plan is that it has been approved as one of the major sports when it has to do with the National Sport Festival. It wasn't there before. The performance of Team Nigeria in the just concluded African game out there in Ghana, where we were able to win gold medal out there and some other laurels coming in from the mixed martial art. I think for me it's a way forward. Then now that it has been officially approved by the National Sports Festival, then I think it's going to be a great one, because some of the martial arts personnel is going to has officially been engrafted or inscripted into the National Sport Festival as officially approved. I think now for some of them that do not have the intention of going further because of the fact that it wasn't yet engrafted into the National Sport Festival, now that it's very official, I think they will start training very hard. They will start practicing them more, and some professional hands also need to be also integrated into the system to be able to imbibe and inculcate the culture, discipline of the martial arts into some of these young athletes out there. So for me, I think it's a great one. Only if everything is done to ensure that we continue to prove on our last out in the All-African game out there in Ghana. If we can go to the All-African game and win gold medal and other laurels through martial art, who say that we cannot do it? Now, coming back home, I think we even have more opportunity, because this one is our own National Sport Festival. If we can get it right here in the National Sport Festival, then the world should await for us our entrance in the African scene, where we won gold medals in the last African games out there. I think for me the future is very bright for the mixed martial arts here in the country. Also behoves on the organizers as well, and the men and women at the heads of affair, to take it as a point of duty to even expand it more and develop some of our athletes who find pleasure in that kind of sport to also.
Of course, and we hope that will be settled in no time soon. One thing very important is that we need to achieve a glorious moment when it matters more. But let's talk tennis now, and it looks like just as we're talking about Grand Slams, over there, the organizers of Nigeria Tennis Grand Slams too are not sleeping at all, because David Ekpenyo and Blessing Omotayo respectively emerged men's and women's singles champion of this year's National Open Tennis Championship, which ended at the weekend in Abuja. Ekpenyo defeated Daniel Adeleye in the men's singles final that was described as ATP standard, with a lot of spectators trooping out to watch at the section of the MKO Abiola Stadium. In the women's final, Anu Ayebusi, the tournament's #1 seed, lost of Blessing Omotayo in an epic set battle that lasted for 4 hours. The tournament, from all indications, lived up to its billing, with winners deservedly cutting home medals and trophies after the finale, which was disrupted by rain at some point. It's good to get to hear some of these things, happening, and we just hope that we get to see them more often, not just once in a blue moon. But it's lovely to get to see tennis, long tennis players in Nigeria compete among themselves. What we used to hear more is table tennis, but when we hear about long tennis, like what we see there, at the top level, where we can get to see talent rise someday. I mean, for me, that would be very glorious, but we don't get to see that often. But it's lovely to see Omotayo, and Ekpenyon doing the necessary. Ekpenyon has been there for quite some time now, and he understands what it means to, to push harder. But then consistency is on that part, maybe because of lack of talent. But what's your view on what has happened when it comes to tennis activities in Nigeria?
For me, I think it's a very good beginning for us here. The likes of Ekpenyon and Omotayo also doing the needful. It's a clear testament that indeed we have talent cut across all sporting strata. Only if our sporting head is ready to do the needful by putting their nose on the ground and make sure that they provide everything necessary for some of these athletes or some of these young talents to also strive in their own place. The only notable name that we have here in Africa is Onjoboa, the Tunisian, and she has been the one carrying the best event and development as regard to do with long tennis out here. And when you begin to cultivate such culture, they will also imbibe in it, and they will see need for to also put all their strength in whatever they are doing to ensure that at least they are up there to catch up with the likes of maybe not Iga Swiatek of this world, but at least starting from the African point of view here, they are looking up to somebody like Onjoboa. So for me, I think it has been an impressive one. Let's hope that they are going to sustain this momentum, because most time you discover that continuity is only the problem or challenges that we do have here. We find it very difficult to continue on a certain trajectory if we have get something started and we saw that that thing is good. Some other government might come in and decide to go different way, not continue the previous by the next person. So I think if we truly want to make a mark, we need to continue in this track. We need to also continue to develop other means of trying to keep some of these players very active, because if they take part once in a while or once in a year in kind of competition, how do you expect them to be very consistent? How do you expect them to improve on their previous performance? So for me, consistency is the key, and that is what we must do if we truly want to also put our name in the map when it has to do with long tennis, just like the Tunisian Onjoboa is doing out there.
And of course, we'll move over now to the third Grand Slam of the season. Okay, the second Grand Slam of the season, the French Open. Of course, it kick-started on Sunday, and it's marked the 2 yesterday. We saw how glorious it was. And that man ranked 273 in the world. Rafael Nadal was hosted out by Alexander Zverev, the fourth seed in the tournament. Does it come to you as a surprise?
No, not at all. In fact, when the pairing came out, I knew it that it was going to be a one-way traffic for Zverev against Nadal. Nadal has been battling with fitness and form over the past years. At some point, we thought maybe he's going to retire, this is going to be his final. But then, after the game, he made it very clear that if his body can still carry him, why not? He's still very much around. They had to even postpone the, the package and the ceremony built for his, for him. But then again, I tell you, Zverev, it was very, very empirical on the day against Rafael Nadal. And for me, I just think that it's time for Rafael Nadal to start thinking of when to leave the stage, although possibly you may want to say because of the love that he has for the game that have brought fame and popularity to him over the years, he finds it very difficult to leave. But then, instead of him to dent the previous record or the previous achievement that he has gained for himself over the years, it's just right for him to at least leave the stage when the ovation is high. Though the ovation might not be that high right now, and that is why possibly I'm thinking that is why I want to leave on a very high note. anytime he gets featured in any major competition and he goes well to win that very well, even not winning it, but going very far, you think that that time is the right time for him to call it a quit. But I also think that he should have been able to give Zverev a run for his money. Hence, he wanted to leave on a very high note. That should have been a motivating factor to
no, he did.
him.
You know, he did.
He did. I monitored the game.
He started very
the
brilliantly.
Yes.
But Zverev, you know, when you are informed, you are informed.
Yeah.
It looks like, you know, clearly what we saw was the training cannot be equated to match. So it started, of course, it was intimidating for Zverev because everybody wanted to come and see Rafael Nadal and get to see him. But he said, I mean, a few days before the tournament, if they're going to organize a party for him to mark his farewell, he said no, that he wants to continue, that he thinks that he's strong enough and he can, you know. So he's one man who, this is his best show. And I think what he wants to do is what Roger Federer did. There was no announcement as to his retirement. You know, he just left the scene and hoping that maybe injury will allow him, but he never allowed him. So maybe he doesn't want to have any ceremony. So I think that it would have been nice to get to see him at least win the first game, which never see. But when you're playing against, and that's why when you're not seeded, that's the disadvantage. And that's what Andy Murray suffers. Yeah. Because when you are not seeded, you play with the big boys. If it was maybe a lower player or maybe a player that is not in the top 10, it would have been easier for him because this is his court. The Philippe Courtier, you know, Chartier court is his court. And of course, we saw that. So I think that he did well, but somehow the effort of Alexander Zverev at the time when he just won the Rome Masters, and he's also a very clay court specialist, I think everything was just not in his favor at all.
Just like everything was not in his favor at all. Then again, coupled with the fact that, for me, I think he's a little bit much rusty. I watched him throughout the game yesterday. He was a little bit much rusty. Despite the intimidating crowd that came out to cheer him to victory, he wasn't still able to pull through. It clearly tells you, you know, how far he has dropped in his form out there. So for me, like I said earlier, I think it's time for him to start thinking of packing his bags and baggages and leave the scene right now.
All right, let's move away from that now. Even if Iga Swiatek also did the netfall, and they're going to call him the Queen of Clay. You know, he will use less than 70 minutes, you know, to all start his young opponents, you know, from the first game, Leo Genjin, who of course was the opponent in that particular one. What a beautiful display from Iga Swiatek. We get to see more of the bigger names, Coco Gauff, you know, Arena Sabalenka coming to display today and all that. But then, what a clear statement of intent from that lady. Let's move away and talk some basketball now. We'll start with the Basketball African League, where history has been made in Kigali, because River Supers are in their first semi-finals of the 4-year-old championship. This is amazing. Not many saw this coming. But the resilience of River Supers, 92-88, you know, got them to the quarterfinals against former champion in U.S. Monastir.
It was an impressive display from Rivers Supers' point of view. Having fell to the firepower of AS Douanes over the weekend, they knew it that this game of yesterday was a make or a mar game, because if they had faltered yesterday, that should have been the end of it. So for me, I believe Coach Ogo Daud understand the importance of that game, and that is why he had to also talk to his player. You saw how he was fuming with, you know, anger, especially in the second quarter, where you look as though the players were trying to take their foot off the gas. The coach was very furious. He had to call them many times, dish out instruction to the player, because he knew the magnitude of that game of yesterday. And of course, we say yes, some of the players that came to the party, compared to what we saw in the weekend over AS Monastir, where they actually failed to live up to the billing. I think for me it was the historic one for them, because this is the first time in the history of the tournament and in the history of any Nigerian team to get this far. Nobody gave them the chance. Even during the Sahara Conference, we could not, nobody believed in them. But they went out there, did the magic, won 4 out of 6 games, qualified, and, you know, gotten to the BK Arena out there in Kigali, lost their first game. It looked as though there was no light at the end of the tunnel, but then they were able to resonate that fine form that we saw them, you know, display at the Sahara Conference. And you can't also not forget to mention the likes of Will Perry, who also put up a very impressive number out there. 33 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists. Very massive, you know. So for me, I think they truly deserve all the accolade. They deserve their flower at this point in time because they've actually, gone beyond expectation, to get this far. I mean, they have what it takes to even push further because as it stands right now, they have become a force to reckon with right now. Looking at their impressive display so far, any team that they come up against definitely will fear him. And of course, we've seen some early shocker where some of the teams that you least expect have also gone, to the semi-final. The likes of Al Ahly also defeated the same Al Ahly, the defending champion, the Al Ahly of Egypt, who is also the defending champion. US Monastir, they are not, rookie in the system. They've also been there in the final, also won it. So for me, I think it looks as though it's going to be a competition, a tournament for the minors this time around.
Tournament for the minors, and clearly it looks like we're going to see Rivers Hoopers display. And but a lot of people are asking, they lost the seeding game to SAS Douanes. How come, after losing, how did they qualify by winning yesterday? A lot of confusion seems to be there. If they lost that particular one, so how does this too much, pair them? What is the difference between the first game and the one they played yesterday?
The point disparity always come to play when you get to this point because, you have two ultimate games to play. Now, that two ultimate game at this stage in time, if you get to lose any of this game, you still have a lifeline if you lose one of the game. A lifeline is that in your second game, if your point number supersedes that of the team that have been hosted out already by the Group A or even Group B, then you have a chance of progressing through, and that is why it looks so.
Okay, and that was a very good attempt, and clearly, but one thing very important is, the TV right deal has also improved, and I think that as time goes on, this year we have 3 conferences. We have the Kalahari conference, we have the Nile conference, and we also have the Sahara conference. And so, to meet up with the TV right deal, a lot of games need to be played, and that's why they instituted for the first time the seeding process that allows you, the winner, or those coming from the conferences, will now have to play a seeding game. That seeding game is more like win or lose. It's not, it doesn't stop you, especially for Rivers Hoopers that have already qualified. Automatically, by winning the conference, they already qualified to the quarterfinals, which they played against US Monastir. But that game is more like a dress rehearsal for them. So more like just playing a formality game. So it doesn't matter whether they lost or they win with margin points. It's just a game that they need to play, for them to. But whatever happens in that particular one would have been good for AS Douanes, if they had. And the game is also to ensure that they now pair who plays between them and Petro Luanda. Yes. US Monastir, who came third or second in the Sahara Conference, and Petro Luanda, who also came. Don't forget that the two of them, had an elimination game that they played. So, each of the, since they are winners, they need to play each of this side. Because they lost that particular game, that ensured that they had to play US Monastir. Otherwise, many are asking, why did you play a team that came from the same conference with you? But because of the seeding, like you said, the point margin, and the fact that Rivers Hoopers, they are the winners of the conference. It doesn't matter whether they lost that particular game against AS Douanes. What matters is that it's even good for them, If they had played, maybe who knows, maybe they would have also beaten, Petro Luanda,
And that is one of the reasons why you need to also, come top in your group.
Very important. That's important.
Stage. So many persons don't even understand how this
works.
When you came third in your the preliminary stage, you are in a disadvantaged position, unlike someone that came first in their group out there, and that is why. We're giving Rivers Hoopers applause for topping their group out there.
Winning 4 games.
Yes, that automatically gives them that, little edge going into the second phase of the game. And that is why, all of these things always fight so hard to ensure that they even come first in their group. You might qualify from the group by coming second or third, but there is a little disadvantage.
Exactly. Because for them, you don't have to. Like AS Douanes, they are nowhere now. Yeah. Because that game they played against Rivers was more like a formality. It doesn't change anything. It doesn't mean anything.
Yes.
They just played it because they needed to play. And the fact that for Rivers Hoopers automatically they have qualified, and unfortunately for US Monastir, I think US Monastir came second in the group because they won 3 games after they lost their first 3 games too. So I think that was very important for them playing in the quarterfinals and getting to win that particular one. Congratulations to Rivers Hoopers. We hope that they will do the needful. They will play against Al Ahly Libya of tomorrow. That game comes tomorrow. And they promise another shocker. I don't think that they as debutants they should be taken for granted. I don't see River Supers taking them for granted. But I think that River Supers, if they're debutant and River Supers with the experience they've garnered, I see River Supers, you can never predict, but I think that it will be a very tough cracker because the Libyan side have shown resilience. When you also the team as good as Al Ahly of Egypt, then you deserve some respect too, Mike.
Definitely, it really deserves some respect, and I think the Kingsmen, as they are popularly called, should also not take this team for granted, because having defeated a powerhouse in Africa in Al Ahly of Egypt, you don't take such a team for granted. If you treat them with levity, then you are going to pay for it, and of course, I understand that they know what is at stake. If you talk about experience-wise, of course, you may say that yes, the Rivers Hoopers, they have a little bit edge over, the Al Ahly of Libya, because Al Ahly of Libya, they are just making their debut appearance, while for Rivers Hoopers, they have been there twice. So for me, taking a look at the experience-wise, you will say yes. We have the experience and edge going over this one. But when you get to this standard, when you get to this point in the game, experience sometimes doesn't count again. Because if you talk about experience, it should have counted for Al Ahly of Egypt. But it didn't count. They had to...
It's about the effort of the team now.
Exactly. You're about your effort, about what you want to achieve, about what you truly want to gain in this game. So for me, I think Rivers Hoopers should not take them for granted, because I tell you, this is a team that is not a pushover. Having defeated a powerhouse like that, they need to be taken
and also as debutant qualifying from that group, the conference, to this point, it's not a fluke at all. Sure. I'm sure they would have studied in the course of qualifying. They would have studied what has happened in the last 3 years. And they came very strong like River Supers also. All right, let's move over to the NBA before we go on a quick break and then talk some football matters before we wrap up the show this morning. NBA news, and clearly at this point, it is 4-0, or what we call in game 4, it is 4 points to 0 against Indiana Pacers, as Boston Celtic seems to be coasting on this particular one. At this point now, I don't think there is any magic about returning. It's, it's done and dusted. I don't think there's any need for game 5, But even if there is need for game 5, I don't see that coming. I don't see that coming, because when you win 4 games out of 7, best of 7 series, even if your opponent wins in the next 3 games, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Does it matter?
It doesn't at all.
So it's done and dusted for...
Done and dusted for Boston Celtic. I think they've actually continued from the regular season. Of course, you know that they are the first team to qualify from their conferences in the normal regular season before going to the playoff. And they continue that their fine form down to the playoff, down to where they find themselves right now. It is even always difficult to see a team turning down a 3-0 deficit, not to even
exactly.
talk of 4.
I think we saw that once. The same Boston Celtic.
Yes. So, but it been years ago. So, I think since then, no team have ever been able to turn down, down a 3-0 deficit. So, as it stands right now, I think it's done and dusted for them. And Boston Celtics certainly is in the final as it stands right now.
Certainly in the finals. Let's get to see if the Dallas Mavericks will also do the needful against the Timberwolves in the early hours of tomorrow, because that game they are still leading 3-0 now. So maybe now as Boston are celebrating, as the Celtics are celebrating in Boston, I'm sure that the Mavericks will also celebrate in Dallas, tomorrow, if they get to win that particular one. But we'll keep our eyes on that particular one. Let's go on a just quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk football matters, and then we'll wrap up the show this morning.
Corruption not in my country.
What do you want to buy?
Potato. Small baskets. I want plantain. But why your plantain can't hard like this?
Madam, now the outside hard. Inside there, it is very soft.
Madam, wallahi, make her no buy them. Make her show you something. What? What in this one? Madam, this one now the chemical where they put on for the plantain make her ripe up.
So you dey put chemical for plantain where people go chop?
No water, no be chemical.
Water. You know, say Pela, I don't talk and say water and not be enemy. Drink them.
Where you collect that water, drink them.
I just stop finish. See my belly. It don't big. I just stop drink water finish. I don't drink.
Wait, you drink them now. At the selling plantain, I go come put on for chemical because I want to make a ripe go. That's why I talk now corruption. Corruption. Not be for this kaswa, come not be for this country. Now me take them.
Corruption not in my country.
This message is brought to you by the Akinfade Foundation, the MacArthur Foundation,
and with broadcast support from Atlantic Television Network.
Corruption not in my country.
I don't get a lot. Boy, they won't booga me small. They say, man, give them bribe. I say, nothing. Okay, now, we'll go block later. You remember that contract we will do that time now? They don't pay.
But first, you see the house rent with the old since. We go first call caretaker, take the money, slap him.
Beg, see, you know, say I get annual levy why they pay for club. Where me and boys they shark beer in our house, I could pay that one. You remember say me and tell you I go buy you motor. I go buy now.
Okay, they pay you money now. We don't they beg caretaker? We they beg landlord, old man, and they agree give us time. Money can't come now. You won't divert time. You said na corruption. Corruption, not in my house and not in my country.
Sure?
Sure.
Corruption not in my country.
This message is brought to you by the Akinfade Foundation, the MacArthur Foundation,
and with broadcast support from Atlantic Television Network.
Corruption not in my country.
All right, welcome back, and it's time to roll the coaster to the end of the show. Mike is still in the building, and of course, we'll wrap up the conversation this morning as we move to football news, and we'll start with the Federation Cup, where Rivers Angels will clash with Edo Queens, 8-time winners of the this particular one. We clash with Edo Queens. Don't forget, Edo Queens recently just won the Nigerian Women Football League, and this clash. I'm just wondering where the pendulum will swing to. Rivers Angels will be having enough, a lot of revenge in their mind at this point.
Yeah, it's going to be a vendetta exercise for Rivers Angels against Edo Queen, because Edo Queen actually stopped Rivers Angels. I wouldn't say that Edo Queen stopped Rivers Angels for lifting the Women's Super Series, because
they had everything in their hands.
Yes, their destiny were in their hand to also, run home with this very title for this season. But then they failed, they faltered as they played 1-1 instead of going for outright win. But then I know that they will still be pained, by the agony of not lifting the Nigerian Women Football League, and they want to also take a pound of flesh against Edo Queen. So I'm seeing the pendulum tilting toward the angle of Rivers Angels.
And then, of course, we'll come back later. We'll talk about the men's and what is going to happen. But the Rivers Angels game will play in Okwa City Stadium tomorrow, same time. And it looks like one thing very important is that we might achieve the timing. I know it's 15th of June, but that's my fear. 15th of June, this is just the round of 16 stages. I'm just wondering how the possibility of achieving the representatives from Nigeria.
I think they need to do what they need to do at this point in time. With less than 2 weeks, before the deadline given by CAF, we need to do what we need to do, because sometimes Nigeria, we want to say that we are always good when it has to do with fire brigade approach. We are always good in it. So for me, anyhow they want to do it, I think they should do it to make sure. But one thing is very certain, that we are not going to have the best of the team representing us out there, because this fire brigade approach will not allow you to properly settle that, give team chance for them to rest like 3 or 4 days before going for the next game. When you rush them, they might not be able to play to their full strength out there, and that is a very big disadvantage. But then it is what it is.
We'll see how the drama unfolds in the coming days in the Nigeria Premier Football League, and the quest of the NFF to meet up to the demand of CAF, getting teams that represent at the inter-club competition in the continent of Africa. Many thanks to you, Mike, for joining us this early It rained this morning, and I'm sure a lot of person will be cruising. And but it's lovely. We are always going to be here to bring you all the best, when it comes to sporting activities. Sekpor Temple is my name. We'll come back later this evening. We'll take a look at club football matters. We are on Emery has just signed a new contract to stay with Aston Villa in the next 5 years. And many more on the show will be yours later on. 6 p.m. is the time where to join us. But do have a lovely day. Bye-bye.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today. Only on ATN.